Katrina here, and today we're going to be talking about the difference between gradients, Hessian matrices, and Jacobian matrices. Be sure to subscribe for more and follow along for more math. This is one of the most important concepts in multivariable mathematics. We need to understand what gradients are, what Jacobian matrices are, and what Hessian matrices are, how they're different, what they calculate, and how to calculate them. So we're going to be going through a brief definition of each of them, and then from there we will be looking at examples for each. So if you don't know me already, my name is Katrina and I'm the machine learning math lead at Cohere Labs. I really hope that you enjoyed today's session. If you have any questions, please write them in the chat, and also write any video requests that you have in the comment section. Okay, so starting off with gradients. What are they? So gradients are simply the first derivative of multivariable scalar functions. And to make this even more accurate, this is going to be essentially the first partial derivatives of our multivariable scalar functions. So what happens is you're going to map some function r to n to r. So gradients can be represented by this upside down triangle over here and your function f. And essentially the result here, as you can see, is going to be a collection of first partial derivatives of your initial scalar function. So say you had some function f and you had x1, x2, all the way to xn as your input, then your gradient of your function is going to look just like this. So gradients can also be represented using the notation as grad. So sometimes it's grad f, but most commonly you'll see this upside down triangle notation. So that is the gradient. Again, a collection of first order partial derivatives of a multivariable scalar function. Okay, so what if we have second derivatives now? That's when we come to what we call the Hessian matrix. So the Hessian matrix is now a collection of second order, and we can even add in again partial, so second order partial derivatives of a multivariable scalar function. So you can think of the Hessian essentially as the first derivative of a gradient, or as the second derivative of a function. So what does the Hessian matrix tells us? Well, the Hessian matrix is going to tell us how the gradient changes as the inputs change. So now we are tracking the changes of that first derivative of the gradient. And the Hessian matrix in linear algebra and optimization can tell you so much about a problem. In particular, it can tell you if you're sitting on an extrema, such as a maximum or a minimum, and it can also tell you if you're on a saddle point by analyzing some of its behavior. So let's look at how a Hessian matrix looks in practice. So again, you're mapping some function r to the n to r, and you will always end up with a square n times n matrix, meaning that you have n rows and you also have n columns. So the Hessian matrix is typically denoted as simply H. And then again, you see here that you have this square matrix, which is a collection of second order partial derivatives. So you can see here that as we are going along, we are starting with all the first row and first column. So that's why we're taking the derivative here. And then as we go down here, we can see that we are now taking the derivative with respect to x2 and then x1, and then we go with respect to xn and then x1, and then so on. And what's really special here is that what we can use what's called Clairaut's theorem, and that allows us to really simplify this case. And essentially, this means that we can take the second partial derivative of f with respect to x1 and then x2. And this theorem tells us that there's symmetry, such that if you take the partial derivative with respect to x2 first, then with respect to x1, you have the same thing. So this means that the Hessian matrix is almost always a symmetric matrix. And symmetric matrices also have beautiful properties in linear algebra. So Clairaut's theorem allows us to really simplify this process because then we only really have to calculate half of the values instead of all of them. We can see here then that this value is going to be symmetric with this value, for example, because it doesn't matter if you calculate the nth derivative first versus the first one. So that's a little bit of a evaluation hack right over there. So again, the main thing I want you to get out of here is that the Hessian matrix is the collection of second order partial derivatives. You can think of it as the derivative of the gradient. So I get a lot of questions now around what is the difference between Hessian matrices and Jacobian matrices. People ask, aren't they the same thing? But sometimes they may look similar, but they're actually quite different. So while the Hessian is that collection of second order derivatives, the Jacobian matrix is actually a collection of derivatives that are first order. Essentially, the Jacobian matrix is the first derivative of vector functions. And that's the major difference here, is that this is the first derivative of vector functions, and that's why the result ends up with a rectangular matrix. So essentially what you're doing is you're collecting every possible first order partial derivative into a single grid of a vector function. And as a result, your function is mapping r to the n to r to the m, and your Jacobian matrix is an m times n matrix. So I spent the time and wrote out a example Jacobian matrix here just for you. And it's just important to understand what these inputs are. So say, for example, you may have a vector function that's represented as f with the vector hat of, let's say, x1, x2, so on, all the way to xn. Essentially, what this is going to look like is a vector of your first kind of function within it. So I would say f1 of x1, x2, all the way to xn. And then you have your f2, x1, x2, all the way to xn, and then so on until you end up at your nth function within here of x1, x2, all the way to xn. So this is your input. So you can see that your input here is a vector. So this is indeed a vector function. So then each of these f's over here that you see, f1 is going to correspond to like our f1s here. Then we have our f2s correspond to our f2s. And then each of these x1, x2 are going to correspond to each of the different values. So essentially your first placeholder, and I'll circle here, is a partial derivative of your first function f1 with respect to x1. And then your next one down the same column is going to be looking at your function, your second function f2 within the vector, and then you're still taking the derivative with respect, partial derivative with respect to x1. And then as you move over to a different column, then you're just taking a different, a derivative with respect to a different value of x. So you can follow this pattern going forwards. Okay, so now that you understand the difference between the Hessian, the Jacobian, and the gradient, let's do an example, and this will help clear up any confusion. Again, if you do have any lingering questions, please write them in the comment section and I will get back to you. So for our first example today, let's look at finding first the gradient and then the Hessian of a multivariable scalar function. So we're going to define our multivariable scalar function as f of x and y. So see here, we have two independent variables, therefore this is now a multivariable problem. You can think of this as a loss function or of a mountain height, for example. And this here is going to equal to 3x squared times y plus 2y squared. So let's start off by solving for the gradient. So remember, the gradient is a collection of first partial derivatives. So we're going to denote this as our upside down triangle of f, or grad f, and this equals to our vector. Sometimes people represent it as either as a column or as a row vector, but we want to take our derivative first with respect to x, and then our second one is going to be the partial derivative of f with respect to y. So here we only have two independent variables, meaning that we are going to only have two inputs. So we can represent our gradient like this, or to be consistent with our first denotation, we can represent it as column vectors, so df over dx, and then df over dy, and I'll lengthen our vector brackets there. Okay, so to do this in pieces, all we have to do first is work on our first term, and is to first solve for the partial derivative with respect to x, and then solve for the partial derivative with respect to y. So our partial derivative with respect to x means that we have to hold y as a constant, and then we just take the derivative normally with respect to x. We're going to use the power rule here. So we've got 3, then we're bringing down the 2x to the 2 minus 1. And then remember, we're keeping y as constant. And then since we don't have any values of x in our second term here, then this is going to equal to 0. And as such, this simplifies, excuse my same line of equal signs here, is 6xy. And then now looking at our partial derivative of f with respect to y, we're going to hold x as constant and differentiate with respect to y. So here this means we will end up with 3x squared multiplied by 1 plus 2 times 2y to the 2 minus 1 following power rule. And again, this is going to give us 3x squared plus 4y. And all we have to do now to represent the gradient is simply to plug in these values into our gradient. So if you're ever solving by hand, I do recommend kind of following this process that we did, where you start by kind of showing your skeleton or your definition of how it's supposed to look, and then that way you know which values to fill out, and you can just put them in. So as our statement here, we would say, therefore, the gradient of f equals to this vector of 6xy, and then we have 3x squared plus 4y. And that's it. We found the gradient. So now the second part of this problem was to find the Hessian matrix. So remember, we said that the Hessian essentially is the derivative of the gradient. So what we need to do now is we need to find the partial derivatives of our gradient in order to find our Hessian. So essentially we need to take the second order partial derivatives of this gradient. So let's write out all the values that we are going to need. So our Hessian matrix here is going to be our second derivative of f with respect to x squared, and then the second derivative of f with respect to x, and then with respect to y. Then following Clairaut's theorem, we have that it's going to be symmetric, meaning that we can simply use the values of symmetry over here, so that we have d squared f over dy dx. I know that these two values will be the same. And then in our bottom left corner, we just have the second derivative of f with respect to y. Okay, so we'll just go one by one to solve for these. So d squared f over dx squared is now, then we can see the partial derivative of our 6xy. And so that means we're keeping y constant and differentiating with respect to x, which will give us 6y, sorry. From here, let's take the second derivative with respect to y. So this is going to end up being the derivative with respect to y of 3x squared plus 4y. Since we already found the first derivative, now we're just looking for the second there. So we're going to keep x constant and then solve for y, and this gives us simply 4. And then here we just need to take the second derivative with respect to x, then y. So this is going to be d over dx of 3x squared plus 4y. So we're keeping y constant. This gives us 6x. And just to prove to you that these two values are going to be the same, let's just calculate the other one. It's always good to be sure. So here we're taking the second derivative with respect to first y, then x. So here we have d over dy of 6xy, which gives us 6x. So we can see that indeed these two values are the same. So all we have to do now to find our Hessian is just to plug all these values in. So therefore we have 6y, 6x, 6x, and 4. So we have the symmetry over there. So therefore, we've now found our Hessian matrix, which is our second order matrix of partial derivatives, and it is square. Okay, so now we're going to move on to a second example, and what do you think we're going to do? We're looking for the Jacobian matrix. So that means we need a function that outputs a vector. So let's create a function over here, for example, like g of x, y, using our gradient components from above as the outputs, and this mimics tracking how a gradient changes across space. So this function here is written, like I said, as g1 of xy, and then second row g2 of xy, and this equals to 6xy plus 3x squared plus 4y. So now we're using basically our gradient as our input function here because it's a vector. So you can see how this all changes all together. So now what we want to do is we want to evaluate how each output component changes with respect to each input. So we're going to start with row 1. So this is for G1. Sorry, I'll just write that out for you. So this is for G1. And then here we have our first partial derivative of g1 with respect to x, and this is going to equal to 6y because we're keeping over here the y is constant. And then let's do the same for y, with respect to y. So now we want to find the derivative with respect to y. So this is going to give us now 6x. So we've done our row 1. And then now let's work on our row 2. So this is, we're solving for our g2. So we're going to do the same thing. So here we have d over g of g2 with respect to x, which will give us 6x. And then we have our dg2 with respect to y, and this gives us 4. So therefore, we have all the values, and let's put this nicely into our Jacobian matrix. So we're going to fill this out. So we've got 6y, 6x, 6x, and 4. So here I want you to notice how the Jacobian of the gradient is exactly equal to the Hessian of the original scalar function. So that was a bit of an interesting unifying example here. So if you have any questions again, please write them in the comments. It's so nice to see all of you and seeing all your engagement. And please feel free to request any other videos if you want to see further examples on this or anything else. Let me know. And with that, I wish you a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.